Thunderbirds was a British 1965 to 1966 British TV show that used puppets of all things. And it was amazing, genuinely amazing. As a kid watching reruns back in the early 90s, not only that, you had Captain Scarlet and Stingray. Joe 90? Like, this is seminal British pop culture here. Forget the Spice Girls, forget Blur versus Oasis, forget Doctor Who. Gerry Anderson's Thunderbirds was where it was at. Now, I might be a little bit biased because I'm such a fan, but it was a great show. Back in the 60s, this was premium kids television, and my dad was lucky enough to actually be small enough when these were actually first on the air. So for me and him, it holds a very special place in our hearts. Maybe not so much now we're a bit older, but we can always kick back and watch an episode on YouTube or wherever and still get those nice, warm, sentimental feeling vibes. The premise of said show was a rich, eccentric millionaire. I'm not going to split hairs. The show revolved around Jeff Tracy and his 5 sons, Scott, John, Alan, Virgil, Gordon? Hey, I got it right. The show revolved around Jeff Tracy and International Rescue, a corporation or a service he provides the world with him and his 5 sons. So way back in 1992, when these were all rerun along with things like Stingray and Captain Scarlet and Joe 90 and Fireball XL5 and freaking Supercar, it was kind of a big deal. So obviously the BBC made merchandise to capitalize on said reruns. Now again, if you're a child of a certain age growing up in Britain, you had to watch things like Blue Peter too. Blue Peter was one of those variety shows which introduced kids into a number of things like household work, or how to make Halloween decorations, or how to wash up, or how to fix a car, or things to do in nature, or skydiving even. But for me, it was how to make your own Tracy Island. And really, when you couldn't afford Tracy Island as a kid for an extortionate amount of money, it seemed at the time, making your own seemed like a sensible thing. And don't look me in the eye and tell me that the word sticky back plastic means nothing to you, because inside your soul, you know what it means. Now, the merchandise for the 1992 run in syndication on the BBC shows were made by Matchbox, and man, they were good. Die-cast model sets, singular vehicles, also die-cast metal, Thunderbird 1, Thunderbird 2, Stingray, the evil fish creature thing from Stingray. I don't know what it was called. All the Captain Scarlet vehicles, including a number of Angel Jets. It was a good time. Let's just leave it at that. Unfortunately, in 1999, just before the year 2000, there was another revival of the show. But in this case, the rights kind of went to Carlton Television and ran on the CITV channel. Now, the merchandise for the Carlton run in 1999 was not made by Matchbox, no. And it was not very good high quality. Gone was the die-cast, and what we were left with was something that only looked like our childhood. Yes, everyone, Thunderbirds. And this one was not only on clearance, but it was also a whopping $5.99 from Electronics Boutique. Wow, those prices. But really, you've got a nice product shot on the front, very colourful and bright, but the packaging has seen better days. It's about 20 years old at this point, so you can't really blame it for being a bit torn up, but you've got the Carlton logo down here. Virgil was the pilot of Thunderbird 2. You've got it down here where I've popped it off the card as neatly as I could. But Thunderbird 1 was always the vehicle that came along with the logo. And the logo is absolutely great. It's big, bold. It's just, there's something about it that just touches a part of your soul. If you've ever seen the show before and you hear the music instinctively in your head. But this one has, try me, 5 authentic voices. Press the button. Unfortunately, I don't have the battery. Unfortunately, I do not have the batteries, so those sounds will have to wait for another time. So That's the front, but where it really shines is the weathered and sun-damaged back. Yeah, not only have you got your little blurb, Thunderbird 2, piloted by Virgil Tracy, carries all international rescues ingenious heavy engineering equipment. This rescue equipment can be released for immediate action at the rescue scene. Thunderbird 4 and the Mole are two carried by Thunderbird 2's pods. Thunderbird 4 is used for any specific underwater missions, and the Mole is for any heavy-duty drilling mission required. Though much heavier and slower than Thunderbird 1, Thunderbird 2 is often the heart of the main action in the danger zone. That's right, people. With Thunderbird 2, we are in the danger zone. But this is why I brought up Tracy Island. The designs for both the Matchbox and Vivid Imaginations, which were brought to us back in 1999. You can tell this is not only 1999 from the stamp, but this also has a website. And I remember some of these products back then, figures in general, started having websites on the back. It was very peculiar. Like, you take it for granted now, but the World Wide Web was brand new still and very unexplored territory. Does anyone remember Kazaa? A form of LimeWire or LimeWire? No. Anyway, it was pioneering. It was pioneering. But yeah, you've got the roundhouse where Thunderbird 3, the spaceship, comes out. You've got the pool that goes back and Thunderbird 1 comes out of. But for Thunderbird 2, it had a big observation deck. These palm trees, which I never really knew were like real or fake, would always split, and then Thunderbird 2 would come out, get lifted up, the back would come up to stop the blast exhaust going everywhere, and it would just rocket off to wherever it needed to be. But yeah, they'd have these little rows of portraits that they'd communicate, and they'd flash, and they'd be like, "Oh God, Virgil, what's going on?" He'd be like, "Oh, I'm in trouble, Dad. Send Thunderbird 3. All these Vivid Imaginations ones all had sound engineered into them. So they replaced the great die cast with plastic in order to just put electronics in, which I guess balanced out the cost, but give me die cast any day. Sorry. Give me die cast. It's so much better. You've also got the cut out your collector card, which is not only sun damaged, but really beat up. Fact, Thunderbird 2 carries one of 6 pods containing specialized rescue machines, such as the Mole, and Thunderbird, you just literally copied this and put it into one sentence. Like, why do we need that? Tell us something about Tracy. Tell us something about Virgil. Come on. Does he smoke? Does he drink? Is he in trouble with the law? Is he a good spender, a good dresser? Does he go to premieres? Come on, tell us something about him, not fucking Thunderbird 2. But you've got a product shot there of Thunderbird 1, Thunderbird 3, which is, I always thought, looked very much like the Tintin Adventure in Space. And you've also got Lady Penelope, which was their British friend / agent, and Parker, who drove a giant pink Rolls-Royce Cadillac monstrosity. But yeah, you've got the batteries and all your blurbs and stuff for that. But you can tell it's just been left and neglected. That is a lot of sun damage. There is hardly any color to this at all. And it's quite sad because the packaging for all these, even back in 1992, was from the front, you can tell, so vivid and so bright and just looked like the 60s. It just did. And for $5.99 from Electronics Boutique back in 1999, you can't really complain, can you? Well, you could, but that'd be pointless. And now we have flying into view not only one of International Rescue's greatest vehicles, but the one that never made sense to me, because this is a heifer. Even in plastic, it's huge. And these wings, tiny. Like, these must be some powerful rockets, and they are still decked out in that's Thunderbird 4 in there. Still decked out in good colors, and it's the same color, like bottle green. And obviously you've got the button there for all the electronics housed in here. But you can tell the quality is not very good, because there's some discoloration already. And this has only been out of the package for like 3 weeks now. Barely touched. But the paint apps are good and the molding is very solid. Like, it's a beautiful vehicle. It really is. It just looks aerodynamic while being impossibly huge. I mean, from an engineering point of view, you can look at these and think turbines. Instead of being out on the wings, they're close to the body, so it keeps it up more, I guess, and just flies quicker. They all had their own unique look for every series, Stingray and Captain Scarlet and Joe 90. But Thunderbirds, they're so iconic. They really are. And the underside, you've got rollers, so it can roll, I guess. Tabs there from Rhinox. Jeez, I did not clean up. Yeah. But you've got Thunderbird 2 on the side, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 everywhere. Just in case you forget, you know, T2, Terminator 2. But it also had really good gimmicks. Not only these buttons here release, let's try and get a good angle, those, which in the show they'd be deployed downwards, and you can tell by the way that they're segmented and go thinner and thinner. But like, the plastic is just already bent, but that's how it would land if it was going to release something. And that's another reason they came out like that instead of flipped out, because it would land and then you'd hear the music and it'd be like dun 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 dun, and it would slowly raise up from these lifting up, and you knew something special was about to happen. And this tab here, bam, that's something. Oh, look at that. Straight away, that something special happens there. And then the inside of the pod would come out, and in the show it was so cool. You'd have all these pods in the docking bay, and they'd slide through, and you'd be like, oh, what are they going to use this time? What are they going to use this time? So we'll put the main body of Thunderbird 2 out of the way for now. Put that over there. So let's close this back up for a second. On the diecast version, it had a 4 on it, because it only came with Thunderbird 4, but they saved the paint. But this would be the pod, and just roll. But the pod would open, and then from inside, your little vehicle would fall out, and then this would be forgotten about for the rest of the show, and they'd never show you how they got it back in. Like, that was never a thing. I might be wrong. Please, if you watch Thunderbirds and you remember it better than I do, please comment and tell me I'm wrong, but I never remember seeing it go back in. But again, Thunderbird 4, it's only like hollow plastic, and you've got a cover on the base, but Thunderbird 4 is still really nice. It's mainly yellow, which, you know, 60s yellow submarine, Beatles. I mean, come on. Is this what they were singing about? Is this what they were singing about? Really? We all live in a yellow submarine? It's tiny. But basically this was the submarine. They'd go down, and if there was something underwater, they'd go down and be like, yeah, they're in trouble. Let's go get some other equipment, and then basically fuck off. And then bring out more equipment like the mole. But the windows decked out. You got the nice stripe Thunderbird 4 there. And it's only a simple mold, but it works. I mean, the headlights aren't picked out with a sticker or anything, but it's so simple, yet it works. Like, just like the premise of the show and the puppets, it just worked. It's difficult to try and explain verbally the magic that was that show, but all the episodes of both seasons are on YouTube. So just type in Thunderbirds in the search and just go at it. Go crazy. I highly recommend you watch. It's a slice of kids' nostalgia from the 1960s and well worth a watch. But Thunderbird 4 is looking good, if a bit hollow. So yeah, that's Thunderbird 4. But for the other one, for the dangerous, like say if there's a fire, which there was in more than a few episodes, and they need to drill underneath or get to someone underground, they would bring the mole. And the mole has got a lot more detail on it. A lot less paint apps. and it didn't ever get a number, but it got an actual name, the Mole. And what would happen is, it's a really nice sculpt. I like all this. This is good. And they've bothered to paint, I think this is all one piece, but they've painted the bottom half and the treads and the drill, obviously. So what would happen is it would roll along, get to where it needed to be, and then this part had hydraulics in it and it would tip up. So the Mole would be like, it would go from horizontal, you know, and then the drill would start and it would just tunnel down. And again, actually no, I think you did see the Mole come back up onto its pedestal or docking rank, docking bay, whatever. But this mold is there's a lot more on there. Like, again, there's a lot of flat surfaces and not a lot of paint apps, but you get a better idea of the engineering that went into this. But yeah, the Mole would be used. There'd be a little door that'd like pop out and be like, hey, do you want to jump in my Mole and we'll get you out of this filling with water room or burning room or gas filled room? And they'd go in and reverse out, and it was all a thing. But it was all very thrilling. Again, I can't recommend Thunderbirds enough. These are perfect. I need to find the diecast versions, because the diecast versions are just next level. These are basic bitch figures. They are still good, and they are still reminiscent of the show and a good representation of the show. But really, it doesn't do it justice. Let's get the pod back in. Oh, that's another thing too. The diecast version, that stays shut. And then Thunderbird 2 can come swooping back in and just rest there. And that is that. I really want now to find more of these, and I want to find the Matchbox versions. If you find the Matchbox versions, if they are a reasonable price, I picked this up for, I believe, $25, not knowing it wasn't die-cast. But I did my research now, and this line for the carton in 1999, mostly plastic, if not all. And it's a real shame, because it looks good and it looks like the 1992 version, but the metal makes it. It really does. And again, with the Captain Scarlet and the Stingray ones, oh, it was chef's kiss next level. But for now, this is Thunderbird 2, this is Thunderbird 4, this is the Mole, and this has been another Toy Scourge video looking at something old. Go watch Thunderbirds. Seriously, what are you still watching this for? Go watch Thunderbirds. Hello, and thank you for making it to the end of another video. Don't forget, there's more content next year, or you can just check out the rest of the channel. Don't forget the social up there, and as usual, you have a great day and a great week and a great rest of the month. Summer is over, it's a shame, but you know, Halloween's on the way.